Now, I get to introduce another friend of trade, friend of WITA's, Congresswoman Susan DelBene from the 1st District of Washington. Another Congresswoman who knows more than a little about the importance of exports to the U.S. economy. Congresswoman DelBene will be presenting the Congressional Leadership Award to Chairman Richard Neal, a leader indeed for turbulent times in this critical field. We are delighted to have Chairman Neal here, and let me welcome to the podium Congresswoman DelBene to do the honors to introduce him.
Thanks, Ambassador. So I came, and the first thing I was trying to do was scope out where the bingo cards were, because I was trying to get all the keywords I needed to put inside my comments to help you out, and no one knew the bingo cards, but I heard noises over here when Chairman Brady had been speaking. So I know there's bingo cards out there somewhere, but I didn't get any early insight, so I apologize. I won't be able to, naturally feed you those lines. It's great to be here. It's great to be together. It's great to be here with my colleague Jackie Walorski, very shy, quiet member of the Ways and Means Committee. And she and I were here a couple years ago, and it's been an honor to be here as part of this event, and it's great for us to all be back. Just so many thanks. Definitely, we owe a lot of gratitude to our former chairman, ranking member, Kevin Brady, for all his work. So congratulations on a well-deserved award. So now it truly is an honor for me to be able to talk about our chairman, Richie Neal, who is so deserving of this honor. When I was presented with my award, it's hard to think that a couple years ago I actually had an award before Chairman Neal, because it's hard for me to think that he wasn't here first. He is a teacher, a coach, a former mayor, and a historian, and now chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, and all of that informs him. I cannot think of a scenario where he doesn't have some analogy to something that happened in the past that he tries to educate all of us on about what used to happen in Congress, what we should learn, what we should think about, what we should keep in mind as we work on legislation now. And so not only his past service, but his over 3 decades of service in the House have been incredibly important to him doing such an incredible job in his role today. This is definitely a unique moment in the United States and around the world. There's been a lot of uncertainty around the world, and even in these more challenging times, Chairman Neal has made an incredible impact. And of course, the first place we can start was with the work on USMCA. Definitely a landmark agreement. I think something that a lot of folks weren't sure would ever get done, where we had something where lawmakers on both sides of the aisle came together, where we had working with the previous administration around a deal that has historic labor, environmental, and worker protections and strong enforcement mechanisms. It happened, and one reason it happened was because of the incredible leadership of Richie Neal. We would not have made it to this place without his efforts as our chairman. USMCA is really a model for future trade agreements, and as the Biden administration continues to work to build back better, that work that is done serves as an incredible template for us going forward. It shows that we can champion market access while also having strong labor and environmental standards, that we can make sure that we are being worker-centric and focus on the needs of our workforce. It also shows, and of course none of you will be surprised to hear me say this, that we can update our trade agreements to be up to date in the 21st century and tackle issues like digital trade. So Chairman Neal's leadership has extended beyond agreements in the Americas. He has been a fierce defender of peace in Ireland and a strong voice on U.S.-Irish trade ties. He has been an incredibly strong supporter of the Good Friday Agreement. In fact, one of the great trips that I got to take was with the Speaker and with Chairman Neal. We went to Ireland, and where Chairman Neal received his doctorate, his honorary doctorate from the University of Ulster for his outstanding contributions to peace and conflict resolution across Ireland. So I remind all of you that you can, we tried to figure out which comes first. You can now always remember to refer to him as Chairman Dr. Neal going forward. But in all seriousness, I'm incredibly thankful for the chairman's leadership. I have had the opportunity since I got to serve on the Ways and Means Committee, and I can't imagine having served on the committee without being able to serve with Chairman Neal. He has been an incredible mentor to our staff, to new members, making sure that people are very thoughtful. He's been focused on bringing people together and coming up with real solutions to address the issues that we face. And his leadership has also helped us make sure that we have an incredible new U.S. Trade Ambassador in Catherine Tai, who came from the Ways and Means Committee, which we're so proud of. Chairman Neal's also been key to the Build Back Better agenda, working so hard on reconciliation package in the House. Still working on that, making sure that we get great legislation across the finish line, because he knows, and one thing I truly value from Chairman Neal is he knows we don't help anybody till we actually get things done. So he has been a strong advocate on healthcare, on tax policy, on retirement, all of these things, but obviously we're here to talk about trade, but it's important to know that in the overall set of issues that he's worked on, he's been a leader in all of those. Chairman Neal, thank you for all that you've done, for the work that you continue to do. It is my incredible honor to present you with this award. Please come up.
Thank you, Susan. As always. Thank you, Congresswoman Delbene, for those good and undeserved remarks of introduction. And for all of you that were so good to give me a standing ovation, you should know that I was mayor in my former life of a big city. And when people got up, they were usually coming after you. So I'm reminded to be very skeptical of those sorts of moments. Susan Delbene has been a terrific member of the Ways and Means Committee. Her leadership on trade is well known to all of you. She constantly reminds me that there is no state in the Union that is more dependent upon free trade than is the state of Washington. So whether it's digital trade or USMCA or trade adjustment assistance, she's played a critical role in shaping U.S. trade policy. I also want to acknowledge again Jackie Wolarski, who's a terrific member of the committee, and Jim Gomez, whose work on USMCA was invaluable, and you should all get to know him, let me tell you. Let me thank the Washington International Trade Association and the Foundation for putting on the event and for honoring me this evening. I know that this would not happen last year, so it's a pleasure to be with you all in person, and I appreciate all of the steps that WITA took to allow us to safely gather this evening. Let me also thank Kevin Brady. And I want to say this, that Kevin Brady is a principled conservative. I can work with that. He has strong beliefs, but there is nobody in Congress who has been a more constant advocate of free trade than Kevin. Personally and professionally, I'm glad to be able to count him not just as a colleague in Washington terms, but as a real friend, and Congress is going to miss Kevin Brady. Thank you, Kevin. So some of the great successes that the Ways and Means Committee's witnessed in the last few years have been on the issues of trade. Every chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, since I have been on the committee, dating to Mr. Rostenkowski, have been free traders. It's pretty interesting, despite many of the controversies that surround the issue today in America. I believe that the success that we've had is something that we ought to be able to build upon, but also to understand that the issue is more divisive than ever across much of America. And it unites the base of the two political parties across America. Their opposition now to what I described moments ago as having been previously a bipartisan achievement. The USMCA stands out as a prime example of how to overcome divisions and achieve broad bipartisan support for a trade agreement. Let me give you these two numbers. 195 Democrats voted for USMCA and 194 Republicans voted for USMCA. When I assumed the role of leader in 2019, it was clear that the renegotiated NAFTA still lacked the necessary support from both parties in Congress, and our goal was to try to get it across the finish line. So let me acknowledge Catherine Tai and the trade staff, whose work was truly remarkable. And let me also recognize Bob Lighthizer. Somebody said to me, it was a reporter for the New York Times, and she said, "When did you know you could get an agreement with Ambassador Lighthizer?" And this is for all of you in this audience tonight. I said to her, when I found out he worked for Bob Dole, we were going to want an agreement, the two of us. I also had some hilarious moments with Bob Lighthizer. Some of the most ardent critics of trade were on the special committee that Speaker Pelosi assembled, and they were tough in that room. There were days when I would say to the Speaker, "I don't think we're ever going to get some of them. I'm telling you, I think we might just have to go on." And she would say to me, "Go back at them," to which I did. And then Ambassador Lighthizer, in moments of frustration that bordered on raw anger, he would call me at night and he'd say to me, how much longer are you going to keep torturing me on this? This is unbelievable what you're doing to me in that room, and you're letting them do what they want and ask the questions they want. How much longer? And I would say, "I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And sure enough, he would show up, very capable staff, and we were able to get the issue over the goal line. And let me say something else. That agreement was endorsed by not only the United States Chamber of Commerce, but the AFL-CIO and the Teamsters endorsing a trade agreement. I used to kid Mike Capuano, a member of Congress from Boston. I used to say to him, "You know the value and benefits of these trade agreements." I couldn't get Mike Capuano to vote for a trade agreement with New Hampshire. That's how difficult it was in the Democratic caucus, and yet based on the numbers I just gave you, we were able to find some pretty odd alliances to get the legislation, again, over the goal line. It passed with a diverse range of stakeholders, but I believe the model is one that we can and ought to build upon. But I also want to suggest this to you tonight. Enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. Trade, in some ways, if not many ways, has lost its constituency in America in some measure because of the enforcement issue. As Ambassador Lighthizer said to me one morning, he said there are people in both administrations and from both political parties and state and defense and others who will say, we can't get this one mad and we can't get that one mad. He said, I've been consistent. I've gotten them all mad. I agree with that. We have and must continue to raise standards across the world, ensuring that we have the tools that are necessary to meaningfully enforce this agreement. USMCA achieved a new high water mark, as Susan Delbene noted, for for issues that many said could not happen. It ought to be the foundation of additional agreements. The Biden administration is already showing how to effectively use the tools that can in fact be deployed. I'm hopeful that strong enforcement, as I noted, will maintain political support as we proceed to the next challenge in coming decades. But raising standards in our domestic laws is going to be really important. As I said, I'm proud of that bipartisan work, but we need to address the issue of forced labor in the world. Our supply chain simply cannot include forced labor in the 21st century. I'm excited to work with all of you as stakeholders in this room to ensure robust enforcement and to ensure that those who choose to play by the rules and take appropriate action will continue to benefit. We need to work with our allies to craft cutting-edge provisions that respond to today's trading environment. I believe USMCA has strengthened our relationship with Canada and Mexico and ought to be, as previously noted, a model for future engagement with allies and, in some cases, maybe people that aren't that close to us across the globe as well. I want to look forward to working on U.S. engagement with Africa. I think Europe presents an immediate opportunity, and I think India does as well. Done right, trade can be a powerful driver for sustainable economic development, both at home and abroad. It brings me to my final point. The primary challenge that U.S. trade policy faces today is adapting new rules to effectively respond to China and other non-market economies. We need to acknowledge that and put it front and center. Trade works best in market-driven economies. I'm eager to work on a bipartisan basis and with a wide range of stakeholders to continue to shape this policy. Our previous successes make me confident that we will rise to the challenge that we face today across the globe. Let me thank WITA for honoring me with this award, and I'm very excited about expanding our potential for trade-related issues across the globe. Thank you all very much. This will help him in his next career.
Chairman Neal, congratulations and thank you in particular for those important messages about bipartisanship. Trade policy has been and ought to be and ideally will continue to be an important focus for bipartisan action, and